Okay, guys. So today we are going to continue on with our statistical question, and we're actually going to get to start to work with the data that we've collected. So like the objective says, you're going to be creating dot plots, histograms, and frequency tables. So I glued in my yellow paper here, and I have a whole bunch of vocabulary words that I'm going to talk about in just a second. And then I also just kind of want to prep my paper so that I'm ready to fill things out. So for my problem today, we're going to be talking about miles that I hiked with Harry Potter. So it's starting to warm up, so I want to decide how many miles I'm going to hike with Harry Potter. So I have 14 boxes here, so I have 7 down and then 2 across. So I have 14 boxes here that we're going to fill in with how many miles I hiked with Harry Potter. So that's going to be something that we're going to be filling in. Then you can see I have a spot for me to enter my dot plot. So it's just a number line. We're going between 1 and 6 miles. And then same with my histogram. So I created a spot to enter my histogram. So across the bottom, it's how many miles how many miles I hiked. And then across the top, this is my frequency. I'm going to need to include that in there. And then this is a spot for my frequency table. So I'm going to be including 2 tables. So the first one is just the regular frequency table with the number of miles and then the frequency. And then here are my choices, 1 through 6 miles. And then my relative frequency table, it's the number of miles, the frequency, and then the relative frequency. And so that's kind of what we're going to be working on today. So let me show you, let me talk to you about the vocabulary words. So there is a dot plot. It is a number line that shows the frequency of data. And frequency, it's down here. It's the number of times a piece of data occurs. So you're going to get to see what that looks like. Then there's a frequency table, and it shows the number of times that each data value occurs. It's just going to be written down. And then your relative frequency table, it's the exact same as a regular frequency table, but it's also going to show the percent. And so we're going to get to write the percent in as well. Anyways, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to hand you that. Thanks. Okay, so the way that we're going to decide how many miles we're going to hike with Harry Potter, I'm actually just going to go ahead and roll this dice here to fill it in. So the first one is 6. So I'm going to put in 6 miles. Then I'm going to hike 5 miles with Harry Potter. Maybe on that hike we went swimming. Did I just say swimming? Harry Potter is really excited, you guys. And then 2 miles. Oh, I'm going to scoot that up. 4 miles. And, 1 mile. Maybe on that one we went swimming too. Less hiking, more swimming. 4 miles. 2 miles. 5 miles. 1 more mile. That was just a dog park one. Oh, we went there again. 1 mile. 4 miles. Another mile. 2 miles. And then finally, the last one is 4 miles. Okay, so here are all of my pieces of data. And so now I'm going to take them and graph. I'm going to graph in my dot plot. So what I'm going to do, actually, if you fill out your dot plot before you do your frequency table, it's a little bit faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark however many times I see the number. So I'm on my first one, I hiked 6 miles. And so I'm just going to mark that I went 6 miles. And then I'm just going to go down the list. So I went from 6, and then 5, then 2, and then 4. I went 1 mile, then 4 miles again, then 2 miles. And then I'm going to come up to my next column. So I hiked 5 with Harry Potter, and then 1. And then we went 1 mile again. Then we hiked 4 miles, and then 1 mile. And then 2, and then finally 4. So a good thing to do at this point is just to check and make sure that you have every piece of data taken care of. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I should have 14 dots on here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's good. I actually took care of all of my pieces of data. So this is what it's going to look like when it's on a dot plot. It's just graphed. I put X's in here. You guys can put circles, hearts, happy faces, kind of just whatever makes you happy for your dot plot. So now I'm going to do this with a histogram, and I apologize, I don't even know if I read this. I think I did. A histogram, it's a bar graph. It's a bar graph that shows the frequency of the data in intervals. And so it's going to be a bar graph, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So I'm going to go up to my 1, and with your bar graph, you actually, you want all of them touching each other down towards the bottom, if there is any space. And then I'm going to do 3, and then we didn't do any 3-mile hikes, but we did 1, 2, 3, 4 4-mile hikes. Oops. And my lead's gonna break. We did 2 5-mile hikes, and then 1 6-mile hike. Okay. So this is what my histogram is going to look like. So these two should be really straightforward. All you're doing is just filling in like the data as you see it, like how many times do you see it. On your homework, there might be a time like where 1 and 2 are combined. If they were combined, you would just mix them to go up. You would do 4 plus 3 would equals 7, so you just combine them to equal 7. So just the way, whatever way it works. If you have, so I mean my data was really easy to graph. I only went to 6. Like on your data that you're graphing, like if you have a lot of pieces of data, like between 1 and 100, you might want to do like 1 or like 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 21 through 30. So it's okay to also combine numbers as well, like in your histogram. And then same with your dot plot as well. Anyway, so let's go ahead and fill in the frequency. So the frequency table, that's going to be really easy to fill out because we already worked out our dot plot. So the word frequency, the number of times the data occurs. So in this data, we went 1, 2, 3, 4. We went on 4 1-mile hikes. So number of miles 1. So my frequency here is going to be 4. For 2 miles, my frequency was 3. For 3 miles, my frequency was 0. We went on 0 3-mile hikes. I went on 4 4-mile hikes with Harry Potter, 2 5-mile hikes, and then 1 6-mile hike. Okay. And then, so we're going to transfer both of these over into, like, onto our relative frequency table. What's going to look different is the relative frequency. And so the way that, so let's go ahead and just transfer that over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then here in the frequency spot, I'm going to leave room for 2 things that I'm going to be filling in. So my frequency is 4, 3, 0, 4, 2, and 1. And then, so in order to find the relative frequency, I need to get a percentage. And so just a reminder for the way that we do that is we're going to take our frequency and put it over the grand total. And so remember, we had 14 pieces of data, so I have 4 out of 14, 3 out of 14, 0 out of 14, 4 out of 14, 2 out of 14, and then 1 out of 14. Okay, so then at this point, we actually are going to need to do a little bit of math. So you are going to need a piece of lined paper today. I don't have any lined paper with me, and I'm actually out of space, so I'm going to do this on just a separate piece of paper. So I'm going to do 4 divided by 14. Just a reminder that when we do that, we're going to bring our decimal straight up, and then we're going to ask ourselves, does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers? 14 can go into 4 0 times, so I'm going to add a 0. 14 can go into 40. Well, I'm not 100% sure. We can try a couple of numbers. Oh, Harry Potter's trying to get the ball. Do you want the ball? Okay, so we're going to try a couple of numbers. Let's try it with 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. We're doing 40 minus 28, changes 4 into a 3. 10 minus 8 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. Check it. It's smaller. Oh, Harry Potter, knock it off. Get out of here. You're so funny. Give me this ball. Okay. That interruption was brought to you in part by Harry Potter and her need to get the ball. Okay, back with me. So we're doing 4 divided by 14. At this point, we're going to check it. 12 is smaller than 14, so I'm going to add another 0, bring it down. 14 can go into 120. Well, I'm not 100% sure how many times. We're just going to take a guess at this point. I'm going to go ahead and try like an 8. 8 times 4 is 32. Carry my 3. 8 times, let's see here, 8 times 1 is 8 plus 3 is 11. Oh, good. I'm under. So I'm going to change the 2 to a 1. 10 minus 2 is 8. Let's see here. Oh, 10 minus 2 is 8. 1 minus 1 is 0. So I'm going to check it. 8 is smaller than 14. And for this, we actually need to go out 3 decimal places so that way we can round. And then we're going to have 80. 14 can go into 80. My guess would be 5 times. I could be wrong though. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry my 2. And then 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 70. 80 minus 70 is 10. Okay, so at this point right here, as long as I go out 3 decimal places, I'm fine. So what I need to do right now is change this into a percent. So I'm going to move my decimal 2 places over. And then I'm going to round. So right now I'd have 28.5%. But this 5, we're going to decide, am I going to keep the 8 or am I going to round up? Well, the 5 tells me I'm going to round up, so this is going to be 29%. And so in my relative frequency table, when I have 4/14, that's 29%. Okay, and I have it twice. Okay, and so now I'm going to do 3/14. So again, we're just going to do 3 divided by 14. We're going to place our decimal and then bring it straight up. 14 can go into 3 0 times. 14 can go into 30 2 times. 2 times 14 is 28. Okay, 30 minus 28 is 2. Check it. 2 smaller than 14, so I add a 0. 14 can go into 21 1 time. 1 times 14 is 14. 20 minus 14 is 6. Remember, we're going out 3 decimal places, so I have to decide how many times 14 can go into 60. I think it can go in 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. Carry the 1. 4 times 1. 4 plus 1 is 5. We're going to subtract. 60 minus 56 is 4. But at this point, I already went out 3 decimal places, so I have 2, 1, 4. I'm going to move my decimal 2 places over, so now I'm left with 21.4%. I'm going to look at this 4 right here and say, am I going to keep the 21 or am I going to round it up? I'm going to keep it at 21%. And so 3/14 is going to become 21%. Okay. Obviously 0 is going to be 0%. 2/14. Again, we're going to do 2 divided by 14. There's my decimal. 14 can go into 2 0 times. 14 can go into 21 time. 1 times 14 is 14. 20 minus 14 is 6. Check it. It's smaller. Add another 0. 14 can go into 60 4 times. 4 times 4 times 4 is 16. Carry my 1. 1 times 4 is 1. Plus 1 is 5. Okay, so then I'm left with 60 minus 54. That's going to leave me with 6. I'm going to add another 0, bring it down. I have 60 again, so I know it's going to be a 4. So we're just repeating ourselves. It's going to go on forever. So I have 144. I have 0.144. I move my decimal 2 times to the right. So then I'm left with 14.4%. I'm going to round, and this is going to stay at 14%. And then we have one more to do. we have one more to do. It's 1 divided by 14. We're going to go ahead